the sauce and with the ingredients that you have in your kit. So we're going to start off with I'm going to get organized here. So we're going to start off with just our ravioli dough mixture. So all those items should have an R on the top of them. It should be the flour, your 4 eggs, your oil, and your salt. And we're just going to use a bowl. And you pour your 2 cups of flour into your bowl. Now I like to use a fork and I make a well. The important thing is to have flour on the bottom of your well so that when you pour your eggs in, they don't stick. So I go ahead and beat my eggs a little bit in the cup. And then I'm just going to pour them in this well. You can pour your oil right in with it. And also your salt. So those are your 4 ingredients for your dough. So what I try to do is just bring a little bit of flour in at a time using the fork to mix it. Try to maintain the well as long as you can. Makes for less of a mess with the bowl. See, it's starting to get a little thicker. Just keep bringing a little bit more flour in. Now, some dough might be a little bit drier. Some might be a little bit runnier. The thing is we just used 4 eggs. The most accurate way would be to measure your eggs so that you ensure you have the right amount of wet ingredients with your dry. So now that it's starting to get solid, semi-solid like that, you can start moving all of your mixture around. And then once it gets to a certain point, like where you have hardly any of the dry flour on the bottom, that's when I clean off my fork and I start using my hands. So I'm going to wait a minute and see if anybody, wait for people to catch up. So I just kind of bend it in half and knead it like you would dough, but not real hard, like bread dough. You don't want to overmix pasta dough because it makes it tough. So this is a really good consistency. Who's laughing? So when I have the ball, when it's all mixed in, I'm going to cut that ball in half and make two balls, because we're going to roll one out for the sausage and one out for the cheese ravioli. No questions yet, Jennifer?
No questions. That's a good sign, right?
That's a really good sign. Yes, we let the dough sit for a few minutes. So
Cindy, I actually do have a quick question.
The question came up on my phone.
That's what's okay. So you got it too. Perfect.
So basically, we're going to let it sit while we mix our cheese mixture before we roll out our dough. So that way, it's like the flour, the eggs, the connectivity makes it much more easier to move it when we roll it out. So yeah, we will let it sit and rest for a few minutes. Think we can move on?
Not yet.
Okay. So I'm going to put this to the side.
Yes.
So the next mixture is going to be our cheese. So we have our Parmesan, our garlic, our salt, and 1 egg. Now we're not going to use the entire egg. So first we're going to put all of the cheese. We'll go ahead and put our dry cheese in. Lots of garlic. And then our salt. I'm going to go ahead and mix this up a little bit. So we're going to use part of this single egg because the other part of it we will use for our egg wash. So I used about half of it. Don't worry if you've used a little bit more or less. Because when you boil your ravioli, the cheese is going to set up a little bit inside when you're boiling it from the heat. So we're going to use our basil. And what I usually do is lay the basil down. Get 1 or 2 slices. It won't, leaves, it won't take much. And then I roll it, which I know it's hard to see with these big gloves on. And then I take my knife and I just cut it into threads. And then we're going to put that into the cheese mixture, mix it up. So basically your cheese mixture is ready. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to start rolling out our first ball of dough. So we did ask for everybody to have a little extra flour, and I'm going to put that on my board. I'm going to take one of the balls, put a little bit of flour on top of it, and I have a big rolling pin. I always put flour on the pin. So the secret is to make it as even as you can. I try to make it almost just square, rectangular, square. So once I rolled it that way, then I flip it. Instead of moving the board, whoops, more flour. You can just rotate your board if you're using a board. The more even you make it, the more raviolis you'll get out of it, which is the goal. So our goal is going to try to be, first time, if you're making this the very first time, if you can get 7 raviolis, then you've done a good job. But just letting that dough sit that few minutes, you feel how smooth and easy it moved. It moved really smooth. So this is probably the size of a piece of paper and a half, 1.5 pieces of paper. So I'm going to let people catch up on the rolling. Always make sure you have enough flour underneath and on top. You should be able to pick it up and move it around without it sticking. I just tore mine. So I do have a way of I kind of cheat. So what I do is I fold mine in half and I make a line. I fold it, bring it back, and then I have my line. So I have ravioli cutters.
Cindy, we do have a question. How
Yes.
thick? How thick should the dough be?
It should be very thin. Can you see this? The thinner the better without it ripping, especially when we do the meat, because the meat's going to be a little bit more coarse, so it'll rip the dough easier. And if it's not, if you don't get it real thin the first time you make it, it's not a big deal. It'll just be a little bit more of a chewy ravioli, but it'll still be fine. So you see I have that line. So I usually mark where I'm going to put stuff. Now, if you don't have a ravioli, then I make a little mark where I want to set the filling with my knife.
I'm sorry, Cindy, we do have another question.
Okay.
Are we supposed to be rolling out both kinds of dough at the same time?
Joe, just one ball of dough. Right now we're working on just the cheese ravioli. So you roll out one ball of dough, try to make it as even as you can. If it's not a big deal. Then I took it and I folded it after I got it rolled. So I know that I'm going to put my filling on half of it. So then you want to keep it like 2.5 inches apart maybe, and I mark it, just kind of eyeball it. So I have my marks. Or if you have a ravioli cutter, you can actually see how I made the marks, but they were pretty accurate. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit that filling right in the center where your mark is.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. We do have another question.
Okay.
Please share how to cut it out again.
To cut it out.
How you're cutting out the ravioli, or how you're.
Well, we haven't started cutting yet.
Okay.
So right now we rolled it out, and then we're marking with a knife about 2.5 inches apart. Just make a mark. You're not cutting anything. And then you're going to, on those marks, you're going to sit a teaspoon of probably about a half teaspoon of your filling right on the mark. We haven't cut anything yet. So I have 8 here. If you have 7, that means you've done a great job rolling out. So when I was putting that ravioli marker down, I was just marking where I would cut, making an indentation, not actually cutting anything at the time. So if you have a pastry brush, that leftover egg, when I first learned how to make ravioli in Italy, what they did was they showed us to go around each ravioli. So I got smarter. And instead I just brushed the top half. That's why we marked half of it. And if you don't have a pastry brush, you can just sit the egg on it and you can actually move it with your hands just as easy. And all you want to do is get it a little wet. And that's going to adhere the top to the bottom. So the way I was taught was you go around each thing with each blob of your filling. But I always seem to get my brush or my fingers in the filling and then I have leaks because it wouldn't seal correctly. So I started doing it this way. That way I wouldn't have any leaks. So that's why the purpose of the whole, make a marking point halfway, mark your ravioli where you want to drop your filling on that bottom half, about 2.5 inches apart. Then I do the egg wash on the top. And then basically you're just going to roll it over. Makes it very easy. Then I use my fingers and I go around each ball of filling I put in there and kind of get the air out. Much easier. I end up without having any leakers this way, because when you get the filling in it and then you try to press the dough down, the filling will actually leak through where you have gotten it on the dough. So like I said, you can use a ravioli cutter, you can use a knife. Now we don't want to throw away our extra because that's what we're going to make our tagliatelle pasta with. So whatever you have extra, just put to the side. So see, I have 8 of them. So since I cut them by hand, I'm going to use my fork and I'm just going to go all the way around to seal it. Everybody doing okay? Okay, so I got 8 cheese. So you're actually supposed to let these dry, but if you want them for dinner tonight, I would put them on something and stick them in the freezer for about 15 minutes, just until they firm up a little bit, and then you can put them in the boiling water 7 to 8 minutes. So you don't really actually need to let them completely dry. They will be just as good if you put them in the freezer and let them firm up. Make sure your water is boiling before you drop them in. I see lots of busy people, but I don't see any ravioli. Okay. Oh, those look nice. So I'm going to sit aside the cheese. And I'm going to roll out the other ball of dough before we actually do the sausage. Plenty of flour on my pan. Is everybody's dough moving really easy? I sure am making a mess.
Cindy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Would it be okay if we slow down just a little bit so some people have a minute to catch up? I think everyone's
Sure.
a little behind. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, so as far as how long you need to let them dry, if you want to just let them sit out and dry, I would let them sit for about an hour on each side. I'd flip them over. Let them sit for an hour, then flip it over, let it sit for an hour. But like I said, I'm usually impatient. Same thing with when I make German noodles. Basically, what I usually do is roll them out, cut them, stick them in the freezer, start my water boiling. By the time my water's boiling, they're basically ready to go drop in. Just a little tip if you want to cheat and not wait for them to dry. So I see some people rolling. So the reason that we're waiting to do the sausage is because the sausage forms better when it's warm. So I'll move this aside and I'll put my little burner here so you can see. And we'll do the sausage, and it only takes a few minutes because it's such a small amount. But I'll go ahead and I'll prepare this for it. So once again, I put it in half, bring it back over, and then I make my mark about 2.5 inches apart, just like I did for the cheese. And that's where I'm going to lay my filling. So once you roll it out as even as you can, then you pull it over on top of each other, make a mark, a fold line.
Cindy, so we have another question. Let's see.
The easiest way to roll it to make it a square is either, if you're doing a cutting board, keep changing just go 1/4 turn on your cutting board, or move your dough as you're going. If you have plenty of flour, you can just keep rotating your dough. Roll a little bit, rotate. Roll a little bit, rotate. That way, it makes it even. If you just continue to roll one way, then it's going to just be a big oval, which isn't a bad thing either, because you can just make more longer ones. But now see, I've made some holes because I kept moving it. So once you have it, you fold it, make your line, and then again you mark about 2.5 inches apart with a knife, or if you do have a ravioli cutter, you can go ahead and make an indentation but not cut through of where your ravioli would be. So once we all get to this point, then we're going to start cooking our sausage. Oh, you know what? I need that rolling pin. Oh, never mind. I'll grab another one. So are we at the point where we can start frying up our sausage? Got my handy dandy little burner here. A very big pot for a little job, but it's the only one I have that fits on the infrared. So So you have 4 ingredients, and you're only going to put 3 in your pot. And that would be your sausage. Of course, lots of garlic. And then our red pepper flakes. Basically, you're just going to brown this little bit of sausage. I should do this so you can see. No, we have more cookies than that.
I don't care about the colors. My wife found this place a couple weeks ago, and now I can't stop coming.
Well, that's a good thing.
Not for my wallet, but it is for you all.
So the sausage that I'm using, I have Lanning Sausage make this for me. It's an all natural. I'm pretty picky about meat. Like anything we do here, chicken is Gerber, 6-ounce breasts that come in fresh 3 days a week. I have Lanning's deliver fresh sausage. That way I know there's no fillers. Can you guys see in the pot? Between the garlic and the sausage, it smells so good. I just brown it until it's no longer pink. I don't know if everybody remembers in the old days how you could never eat pork unless it was completely cooked because of trichinosis, but there's no longer any, there's no such thing as trichinosis anymore, believe it or not. I got a whiff of that red pepper. Whew.
So Cindy, you have another question.
Okay. Sorry, I'm so high I didn't see it. What is it, Jennifer?
Oh, if we don't eat these tonight, should they just be stored in the refrigerator after they?
Yes. Yes. As long as they're laying flat. They'll be fine in the refrigerator up to 4 days. Most of the time what I do is I put them in a bag and stick them in the freezer if I have anything extra. So I'll let everybody catch up on the sausage. So why the sausage is hot, it's very important that that's when you put the cheese in. And this cheese isn't available retail. It's provolone mozzarella blend, and it's so good. So that's another thing that you have to be picky about when you're picking out cheese. You have to look and make sure that you can identify with all the ingredients on it, because there are some cheeses that are cheaper where they actually put plastic in it. So, is it? I didn't see the question. Is it?
So it says, is it Provel cheese, the famous pizza cheese of St. Louis?
No, it's not. Actually, I can get a bag and show you what it is. It's so good. The name brand is Grande, and you used to not be able to get it anywhere, but I have noticed the only place that I ordered from is GFS, because they have a actual contract with GFS. I can't get it from Cisco. I can't get it from any of the other food providers. US Food, no one. So I have noticed that it's about the only thing I buy from GFS. But it's a 50-50 blend, and it's low moisture, but when you open the bag, the smell is I mean, if you smell the cheese now, I mean, it smells so good. A lot of really good pizza companies use this cheese, and they're proud of it, because when you go in there, a lot of them will say, we only use Grande cheese, because it's the best. It's expensive, but I did notice that at GFS in the dairy cooler that they are selling the individual bags now. So you can get it at GFS only, and I don't know why. I think it's just they have a contract with them. The other place that you can get it from is Sofo Foods, which is another wholesaler, which I don't use them. So it's the best. So once you have your sausage browned up, now that the cheese is in there and you see how it's warm and it's kind of sticking together, it makes it so much easier because you can roll it into a ball and set the ball right in the center. That's why I didn't do the sausage first before I rolled it out, because you actually want to do this while it's warm. Makes your job a little easier. Is everybody caught up?
It looks like it, Cindy.
Hi, Miss Ann. Sorry, my store is still open. Okay, so you see how I formed the balls and I set it in the center where I had my marks. And then once again, you can either do it with your hands or a pastry brush, but you're going to put your egg wash on the top. And the other reason that I also do it when the sausage is warm is because if you wait until it's cool, it kind of crumbles. And then again, I have that problem where I don't get a good seal because there might be a crumb of sausage in the way of where you're sealing it. So once I have this, see, I made a little rip. And that's the nice thing about egg wash, because you can fix your rips with your egg wash. I'm going to pull it over. And then go around the sausage balls. Get the air out. So I'm cutting. And as I'm doing this, I'm saving my scraps because we're going to make our tagliatelle from it. So first time, if you get 7 raviolis, that's great. If you get 8, even better. Hate to brag, but I got 9 this time. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. So once again, I'm going to take my fork and go around it and seal. Everybody doing okay?
It looks like it. Well, good. We got someone saying this round of ravioli looks so much better than the first.
Get better as you go. This looks better because it's meat and there's just a lot more of the filling in it. Plus, you probably just did a better job rolling it out. You feel like an expert now, right? See how flat the cheese is? I'm not a cheese fan. I'll admit it. But I do love the sausage ones. So when I get to this point, what I would do is start boiling the water and stick these in the freezer. And then by the time you got your pot going to a rolling boil, these are going to be firmed up enough that when you drop them in the rolling boil, they won't stick together. I usually use a wooden spoon, make sure they're not sticking. but it starts rolling again right away. You don't have to worry about it. Or you can let them sit out and dry, or you can put them in the refrigerator. Or stick them in the freezer and leave them there overnight. Now, if you do freeze the ravioli, don't ever thaw it out. If you decide you want to freeze it, you put it in a baggie, you put it in the freezer. Then when you're ready for it, then get your water boiling. And when the water is a rolling boil, then drop the frozen ravioli in the water. If you let them thaw out and then put them in, they get gummy.
Interesting.
So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with my leftovers. Now this is very important to get this part as thin as you can. So I'm going to kind of make a ball because there's definitely some egg in there from our mixture. What do I do with my flour? So I'm going to roll this out as thin as I can. And this doesn't have to be in any pretty shape. Makes no difference at all. Just try to roll it as thin as you can.
Cindy, we have a quick question about how long to boil the ravioli.
7 to 8 minutes.
Thank you.
Now, if it's the first couple times you're making it, your ravioli is a little thicker, it might take a little bit longer. But once you get to the point where you can make them real thin, 7 to 8 minutes is usually perfect. Now, a lot of people say, oh, wait until they float. They don't always float, so I wouldn't go by that because you could end up with a sticky mess. I would definitely wait till the water is boiling, drop your ravioli in the water, and do an 8-minute boil. So I have a little red pepper stuck in my dough. So I'm actually German. My maiden name is Ramold. And I was raised making homemade noodles for every holiday and every Sunday. So my father came over Sunday to see me. I hadn't seen him for months. He lives 2 hours away. And of course I had to make homemade German noodles for him. His mother actually taught me how to make noodles. So this is the same concept as making German noodles if you've ever made them. So you basically roll it out thin, and then you roll it like you would a cinnamon roll or anything like that. And tagliatelle is normally pretty thick. It's a thicker noodle. Wider, I should say, not thick. Sorry. So you can also let this dry and sit out and dry, or you can put it in the freezer. So that is actually what I made from my scraps earlier. Same recipe. So we'll go back to what this looks like. With 2 cups of flour and 4 eggs. A little bit of oil and salt. You can actually make this much ravioli and tagliatelle, and you can put whatever filling in it you want.
That is amazing.
Okay, this is Pat. I'm gonna fess up. My kitchen looks like a white tornado has gone through it. And
So's mine.
my flavors are a little bit different because, oops, I put a couple things in the wrong thing, but I think they'll be all right.
I'm sure it's going to be delicious. I have flour everywhere.
So Cindy, share with us where Palumbo's is located in case there's someone on here that may not know.
It's 937 River Road. If you've ever heard of River Road Coffee, the River Road Coffee House in Granville, we share the parking lot with them. So we're parallel actually to 16.
My mother we're German too. My mother used to hang these noodles all over the house.
Yeah. It's funny how some people actually do. They have little racks and they dry them like this.
Yeah.
You know. I tend to do everything on a big board at home, but then I always just lay it out on the granite because for some reason I think that the board holds the moisture in the dough, or it doesn't let it escape. But when I just lay it out on the granite or regular countertop or mica or whatever, it seems like it dries faster.
Cindy, how long do we cook the tagliatelle?
Well, depending on how thick you roll it out, I would say 4 to 5 minutes at the most. You know, when you do whoops, I got sauce on that. When you do like an angel hair, we're talking 2 to 3 minutes. When you're doing something like tagliatelle or a linguine, I would say 4 or 5 minutes tops. You'll see it puff up. That's the difference when you make homemade pasta, how it puffs up. It looks totally different. Now, I will admit that my tagliatelle here, I didn't roll it out real good. It looks like German noodles with Italian sauce on it. And once again, like I told the people in the group that did the tiramisu class, everybody always thinks it's the eggs that are bad, that you shouldn't eat raw dough. It's actually the flour that would make you sick, not the eggs.
Nancy, your ravioli looks perfect.
Hey,
That looks great.
it looks decent, not quite like yours, but it looks good, and I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Good. Oh, look, that looks great.
That is gorgeous.
She did good.
I loved my tiramisu we made.
Yeah.
Oh,
last time.
good.
It was delicious.
It was delicious, wasn't it? Did it set up good?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, it was perfect. It was really,
Good.
really good.
I think I made manly raviolis. Mine are really big, so I figure I'll only eat like 3 or 4 at a time.
Yeah, if they're big, they're big. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's funny, the more you do this, the better you get at it. I hate to say it, it takes practice. But you know what? They're never bad, though. They never taste bad. So
you get your face in so they can see.
I can't. Hey, Cindy,
yes.
we made a tiramisu to go with ours tonight. We liked the last one so well.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, those look great.
Yeah.
Gary, those look great, Gary.
Oh, yes, it is.
I get it.
So I saw Patricia's, I saw Gary's. Who else? Anybody else showing? Oh, okay. I don't see a name. It just says iPhone, but those look great too. Everybody's looks good.
Well, Diana, good job. Awesome.
Lisa,
Yeah.
yours look good.
Nancy, those are beautiful. We have 2 Nancys.
Fantastic. Hey, Jay, where's yours?
Beautiful.
I see Jay Karcher's name on here.
Oh, Marilyn and Mark, beautiful.
Excellent.
Great.
All right. Thanks so much, Cindy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Enjoy.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your
Hey,
pasta.
Jennifer, are we gonna do something next month?
Yes, so Cindy, we do need to talk about that. What would everyone be interested in doing possibly next month?
Hmm.
I don't know.
Just trying to think what we could do. I can't believe that everybody's making stuff new and we're getting done with way before the hour time limit. That's like amazing.
Use it out.
Meatballs. Yeah, we could do meatballs, but the problem is it takes a long time to cook.
I know you also mentioned possibly bruschetta.
Yeah,
Like
we
the-
could make bruschetta and like a rocket salad. When I was in San Gimignano, we took cooking lessons there, and it was like healthy things. They were really good. Maybe do that and set it up with a charcuterie board. And maybe some different ways to put some stuff on bread that makes it different.
Can you think of anything that we made in Italy?
I would love to make different breads. Corn sounds fabulous.
Maybe we could do make a focaccia bread. And while it's baking, then we could do a tagliatelle. A rocket salad and some bruschetta.
Yeah, I'd like to do,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Or maybe a soup.
Focaccia is one of the easier breads.
Yeah.
Definitely. So while we could do that, mix it up first, then we could all stick it in the oven. And then while we're waiting on it, we could maybe mix up a rocket salad and do some, I could put in we could bake some fresh baguette, and then I could show people how to do bruschetta the Italian way, where they rub the garlic on the bread.
Ooh, sounds great. That is so exciting, and I will have that posted to our website soon when we have all that information for everyone. I hope everyone has a fantastic evening and bon appetit.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
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 Cindy, thanks so much. This is wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I have fun doing it.
We're at Cindy's at least once a week. I want everyone to go there. It's marvelous.
Oh, thank you so much. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao.
Now, thank you.
Oh, no. There were about 20, 30 maybe.